From what we have seen so far, there is not one thing predictable about Loki, the god of mischief himself. So perhaps the death by the hand of Thanos was just another trick up his sleeve. We will have to wait and see. However, the mess with the timeline and the search for the Infinity Stones gave us another Loki from a different timeline, and he escaped with the Tesseract. His existence is still unknown. And with the trailer released for the Loki series starring Tom Hiddleston, we have some secrets and things you didn't know about Loki. Enjoy! Where did Loki end up? Starting off our list with the very first scene from the trailer of the Loki series, we can see him ending up in some desert, and by the strangers sporting Mongolian clothing. At first glance, it appears as if Loki actually ended up in the Gobi Desert. However, if you read some of the comics from Marvel, this desert might actually be anywhere in the 9 realms, in a world that is based on the people and clothing of the Mongolia. We know in our lives, just like the planet, Jotunheim, which was covered in ice. The way the scene is shaped leaves a lot of theories open, so that is why Marvel hid many details, not revealing anything. With this secret, unknown thing hanging above our head like a light bulb waiting to be lit, the Loki series and the character might expand the universe even further. We don't know for sure, we will just have to wait. Loki founded the Avengers. Now this might sound strange and highly doubtful, but if you take a closer look into the matter at hand, just like in the comics, which came out in 1963, it was the first Marvel comic book that teamed up its characters this way. And it was Loki, the big bad foe they had to defeat, and couldn't do it alone, and they had to team up. So in theory, him coming to Earth and presenting himself as one of the mightiest threats to the planet, he was the main reason for the Avengers to be founded. Mobius Mobius. This one is a secret for all of you who haven't read any Marvel comic books. In the trailer, we see a person talking to Loki in an elevator at the TVA, the Time Variance Authority. From the subtitles given in the trailer, the role that Owen Wilson portrays is that of Mobius Mobius, a middle-ranking bureaucrat of the TVA. And we can say this with certainty as he appears in the comics written by Mark Grunwald. In the trailer, just like in the comics, Mr. Mobius gives Loki his first introduction to the TVA, and he's already very familiar with the God of Mischief, which reveals another secret that the TVA had an eye on him for a long time. And Loki's accidental scrambling with the timeline is probably the reason why he gets arrested by the TVA. Loki ran for president. One thing that current political climate can teach us is that anyone can run for president. So if you didn't know by now, Loki actually ran for president during his time on Earth once. However, this depiction of the trickster god in the comics was a satirical commentary on the real presidential race that was happening at the same time. Loki had a short-lived attempt at a political career, and his campaign slogan was "Believe," using the lie word in the slogan. His campaign was more on the side of telling the American public directly, rather than behind the scenes like everyone else was doing around him. TVA's founding members? In the trailer, we can see both the courtroom and the shot showing the exterior of the TVA building. In both scenes, there are 3 mysterious statues. We don't know for sure, but with the upcoming big bad Kang the Conqueror and the upcoming Ant-Man movie, Quantumania, one of these characters, is probably him, as he was many times connected with the TVA in the comics. One big secret Marvel might be hiding, in a not-so-familiar look, is that these statues show the personality of the living tribunal, who is an entity in the Marvel Universe and is believed to be the founding member of the TVA. And these 3 statues represent his look from the comic books, a human body with a head with 3 faces. Loki has been a woman and a kid. From the last movie of Thor, Ragnarok, we can see how Asgard was destroyed by Surtur, and in the comic books, Loki, after this event, returned to life in his female form, in a body which he stole from Thor's love interest, Lady Sif. He uses this disguise to manipulate the Avengers and letting them believe that he was the Scarlet Witch, and he was also a young boy, Kid Loki, while in this form. He tried to be a good guy, a hero. He was even in the team of young Avengers. Many of you saw Loki taking many different shapes and bodies, but you never knew this, right? It's Loki after all, so nothing can be predicted when it comes to him. Yet again, a prisoner. In the trailer, Loki is seen in an elevator with a collar on his neck. We all know that keeping a magic-wielding son of a frost giant kind under control is not easy, but if you get your hands on him, he can easily be put in his place. This is the case right here. The secret is that this collar is actually a bomb collar, designed especially for Loki to be triggered whenever he tries to use magic, in an attempt to escape, of course. So besides being a bomb collar, it also suppresses his powers and dampens them and their effect. We are not for sure, but we are more than positive about the characteristics of the collar and what it is meant to do. Loki created some Marvel villains. Being a Marvel villain isn't easy, as he has a big task of taking down the Avengers. Thus, Loki tried everything in his power to bring them down. At one point, he used his tricks to create his own Marvel villains. You know what they say, if you can't get an army to join you, why not make one by yourself? As an aftermath, Hulk and Loki's manipulation led him to the Green Goliath and was a temporary foe for the Avengers, one of Loki's first collaborations. After that, Loki imbued superhuman powers to criminals like Carl Creel, turning him into Absorbing Man. Loki even formed the Wrecking Crew, one of the most formidable supervillain teams to ever face the Avengers. Loki is bisexual. This one is a no-brainer for the caliber of a god who is a gender fluid as Loki. But it wasn't explored that much until recently in 2014. And we say recently because Loki's first appearance was way back in 1949 in the Venus #6 comic book. In the comics, Loki flirts with men, women, mortals, and gods. However, Verity Wills, who is a human that has the ability to see through lies, proved to be a hard task for Loki. And vice versa, the handsome Sigurd also gave Verity a run for his money. Now, things like this are not explicitly supported by Marvel. Thus, Loki's sexual preference was implied rather than stated. So there isn't a lot out there considering this segment in his life. And the fans can take comfort in the fact that the writer, Al Ewing, wrote Loki as bisexual. Loki turned Thor into a frog. From the Marvel comic books and the MCU, we are familiar with the fact that both Loki and Thor, especially Loki, was a big prankster, even from a young age. So as pranks go, Loki may have went over the line. He sent Thor on some pretty crazy adventures, for us at least, as it was not nearly an exciting adventure for Thor himself. This plot was fun and exciting for all of the fans, and it still resonates to many of them to this day. And thus, in a small category of which individuals can lift the hammer, a frog is one of them. And not just any frog, but the Frog of Thunder. It was not the Mjolnir itself, but a sliver of a broken one which gave him the powers of a god. Selfless Loki. Following the global Skrull invasion, an event when the Skrull King was killed by Norman Osborn, he became the new leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. and renamed it to Hammer. And right after, he created a team of Dark Avengers, whose sights were very soon set on Asgard, who was at the time floating above the town of Broxton, Oklahoma. In this group of villains, Loki found his place after his banishment from Asgard. However, when the time came and he saw what his people were about to face, he changed sides and sacrificed his own life to save Asgard, an act many think is perhaps the most selfless Loki has ever been and will ever be. A moment to be honored by many, and to us, it has to be the most selfless thing he has done in the many years of his existence. You surely agree with us. Tell us what you think down in the comments. And on that note, we end our video. Thank you for staying and watching until the end. We hope you learned some new things about the God of Mischief himself, and just how big his personality is, and all of the adventures, events he endured. Drop a comment down below on your favorite thing you didn't know about Loki. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more videos like this in the future.